Consider this fundamental truth. Your consciousness is the only reality. Everything you perceive outside yourself is simply consciousness externalized. Your conversations, your arguments, your constant need to discuss and analyze your desires with others, these are all forms of diffusing the concentrated power of your imagination. When you speak of your desires before they are manifested, you scatter the seeds of creation to the wind, rather than planting them firmly in the soil of consciousness. I knew a gentleman in New York, a brilliant businessman by all external standards, who constantly struggled to bring his grandest visions into being. Despite his intellect and connections, his most cherished dreams remained elusive. One evening after one of my lectures, he approached me with frustration evident in his demeanor. "Neville," he said, "I've visualized, I've affirmed, I've done everything you've suggested. Yet my business expansion refuses to materialize. What am I missing?" I looked at him and asked a simple question: "To whom have you spoken about these plans?" His expression revealed the answer before his words confirmed it. "Well, I've discussed them with my partners, my wife, my colleagues. I've been gathering opinions to refine my approach." "There," I replied, "is the root of your failure to manifest. You have violated the principle of silence." I explained to him that the unmanifested state is like a delicate embryo in the womb of consciousness. Exposure to the harsh light of external discussion can cause it to dissolve before it has gathered sufficient strength to be born into objective experience. I advised him to cease all discussion of his plans and to commune only with his own wonderful human imagination, which is God himself creating in him. 3 months later, this same gentleman approached me after another lecture, his face illuminated with joy. Without speaking a word, he handed me a newspaper clipping announcing the very business expansion he had been attempting to manifest. "I told no one," he whispered. "I simply knew it was done." This, my dear friends, is the power of silence in manifestation. When you learn to still the external conversations and the internal dialogue of doubt, you become aware of signs that your manifestation is moving from the realm of imagination into the world of form. Let me explain the mechanics of this process. Every desire once conceived in imagination exists immediately as a spiritual reality. Your consciousness has already accepted it as complete in what I call the fourth dimension, the realm of spiritual completion. The journey of manifestation is not one of creating something new, but rather of allowing what already exists in spiritual form to clothe itself in the garments of physicality. This journey from spiritual conception to physical birth requires gestation. And just as an expectant mother does not need to announce her pregnancy immediately to every acquaintance, so too should you guard the sacred state of your unmanifested desires until they are ready to reveal themselves naturally. During this gestation period, if you maintain faithful silence, not an anxious, waiting silence, but a confident, knowing silence, you will begin to witness signs of your manifestation approaching. These signs are confirmations from the universe that the seed you have planted in consciousness is indeed growing, developing, and preparing to burst forth into your three-dimensional reality. What are these signs? They are synchronicities so perfect, so mathematically precise in their timing, that they could not possibly be mere coincidence. They are overheard conversations that seem to speak directly to the desire you have been nurturing in private. They are unexpected opportunities that align perfectly with your inner vision. There are resources appearing just when needed, people entering your life who possess exactly the connections or skills required for your manifestation. I recall a young woman who attended my lectures in Los Angeles. She had been visualizing a very specific home, a Spanish-style villa with a red-tiled roof, a courtyard with a fountain, and citrus trees in the garden. The price of such a home far exceeded her current financial means. But she faithfully applied the law of assumption, feeling the naturalness of owning such a home while maintaining complete silence about her desire. One afternoon, she found herself driving in an unfamiliar neighborhood due to a detour. As she rounded a corner, there stood the exact home she had been imagining in her mental scenes. Without thinking, she pulled over to admire it. An elderly gentleman was tending to the garden, and noticing her interest, approached her car. "Do you like this old place?" he asked. "It's beautiful," she replied, careful not to reveal the full extent of her recognition. The conversation that followed revealed that the man was preparing to sell the home, but dreaded dealing with real estate agents and open houses at his advanced stage. He was looking for someone who would appreciate the home's character and history. Within weeks, through a series of events that can only be described as miraculous, the young woman arranged financing on terms that matched her budget precisely, and she acquired the home at a fraction of its market value. When she shared this story with me, she emphasized one crucial detail. "I never told anyone what I was imagining, not even my closest friends. But once I began my mental work, I started seeing Spanish tiles everywhere. Magazine covers featuring similar homes appeared in my mailbox. Television programs suddenly showcased Spanish architecture. It was as though the entire universe was confirming that my assumption was being realized, even before the physical home came into my experience. This, my dear friends, is the pattern of manifestation science that appears when one practices faithful silence. Your external reality begins to echo the contents of your consciousness in increasingly specific ways, building toward the complete externalization of your desire. Why does silence possess such power? The answer lies in understanding the nature of consciousness itself. Your consciousness is the only reality. I cannot emphasize this fundamental truth enough. What you are conscious of, you manifest. When you discuss your unmanifested desires, you become conscious of their absence, of the gap between your current state and your desired state. You focus awareness on the lack, not the fulfillment. Furthermore, the opinions and doubts of others become entangled with your pure vision. Their limited concepts of possibility infiltrate your consciousness, diluting the clarity of your assumption. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Others merely reflect back to you your own states of consciousness. If your consciousness is contaminated with doubt, the world will dutifully reflect that doubt back to you in countless ways. In silence, however, you maintain the purity of your vision. You commune directly with your own wonderful human imagination, which, I remind you, is God Himself in action within you. In this sacred silent communion, there is no contradiction, no doubt, no limitation imposed by conventional thinking. There is only the pure creative power of I am, declaring what is true. Consider the wisdom in the biblical instruction. Go, tell no man. After healing the leper, Jesus commanded him to say nothing of what had occurred. Was this mere modesty on Jesus' part? No. It was a profound spiritual instruction related to the law of manifestation. The transformed state, the healed condition, needed to root itself firmly in consciousness before exposure to the doubts and contrary beliefs of others. Similarly, when Peter, James, John witnessed the transfiguration of Jesus on the mountain, they were instructed to tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be risen from the dead. The vision, the revealed spiritual reality, required protection from the limiting beliefs of the unenlightened mind until it could fully manifest in the world of form. I urge you to adopt this same sacred silence regarding your own transformations and manifestations in progress. When you feel the naturalness of your desire fulfilled, seal it with silence. Know within yourself it is done. Then move through your days alert but relaxed, watching for the signs of your manifestation approaching. The signs will come. They always do, for it is law. Not wishful thinking, not vague metaphysics, but immutable law as exact as mathematics. The signs follow the faithful practice of silence with the same certainty that day follows night. A gentleman once approached me after repeatedly failing to manifest a significant career advancement. I've been affirming my new position for months, he explained, but nothing has materialized. Upon questioning him further, I discovered that he had been discussing his techniques with colleagues, explaining to his wife each evening how he was using the law of assumption to secure the promotion, even journaling extensively about the process rather than the completion. I advised him to cease all discussion or analysis or focus on the how of his manifestation. Instead, I instructed him to capture the feeling of already occupying the new position, to fall asleep each night in that consciousness, and to remain completely silent about it to everyone. Within 3 weeks, he began noticing peculiar coincidences. His current supervisor was unexpectedly transferred to another department. A project perfectly suited to showcase his unique talents landed on his desk. A senior executive who had never spoken with him previously began engaging him in conversation in the elevator. He recognized these as manifestation signs, the bridge of incidents constructing itself to lead to his desired end. 2 months after embracing the practice of silence, he was called into the director's office and offered precisely the position he had been imagining, at a salary exceeding his original assumption. The most revealing aspect, he later told me, was that during the meeting the director used phrases that were almost identical to those I had been hearing in my own imagination. It was as though I had scripted the entire conversation in advance. Indeed, he had done exactly that. For in the silence of his focused imagination, he had planted the seed that grew into that precise experience. The science he witnessed along the way was simply the evidence of that seed breaking ground, sending up its first tender shoots toward physical manifestation. Now, my friends, let me address a question that may be forming in your minds. If silence is so crucial, how does one distinguish between the wise silence that nurtures manifestation and the fearful silence that stems from doubt or shame regarding one's desires? The distinction lies in your inner feeling state. The silence I advocate is not the tense silence of anxiety, wondering if your desire will manifest. It is not the embarrassed silence of one who fears ridicule for their ambitions. Rather, it is the peaceful, confident silence of one who knows that what they have assumed in consciousness is already accomplished in spiritual reality and must, by law, project itself into physical experience. This silence is suffused with gratitude. It is as natural as the silence of one who, having deposited $1 million in the bank, feels no need to repeatedly announce their wealth to others. The knowing is enough. The inner acknowledgement is complete. In this state of grateful knowing silence, you carry yourself with a quiet confidence that others may notice but cannot quite define. This itself becomes a sign of your manifestation in progress, this subtle shift in your bearing, this unshakable certainty that permeates your being. I recall a dear friend who had spent years struggling with financial scarcity. After attending my lectures, she began applying the principle of silence to her manifestation of abundance. Rather than continuing to discuss her financial difficulties with friends and family as had been her habit, she assumed the consciousness of wealth and held her silence. She reported to me the remarkable shift that occurred, Neville, within days of my new practice. I began finding coins on the sidewalk, pennies at first, then nickels, then dimes and quarters. A rebate check I had forgotten about arrived in the mail. A client who had owed me a small sum for months suddenly paid their invoice. These were small amounts, to be sure, but I recognized them as signs confirming my new state of consciousness. She continued her faithful silence, neither boasting of these initial signs nor discussing her practice. The signs accelerated. A distant relative sent her a birthday gift of $500, something that had never occurred previously. She was offered a project at work that came with an unexpected bonus. A property she had invested in years earlier, which had been sitting stagnant in value, received a purchase offer well above market price. Within 6 months, her financial situation had transformed completely. The fascinating aspect of her story was that each manifestation sign seemed to be calibrated perfectly to her expanding capacity to accept abundance. The universe did not immediately drop $1 million in her lap, which might have overwhelmed her consciousness and been rejected as impossible. Instead, evidence of her shifting financial reality appeared in graduated steps, each one expanding her acceptance of prosperity until the full manifestation of abundance became her natural state. This pattern of graduated signs is common in significant manifestations. The universe, which is really your own wonderful human imagination, operating beyond your conscious awareness, knows exactly how to build the bridge of incidents that will carry you from your present state to your desired state in the most natural manner. Your task is simply to maintain the assumption of the wish fulfilled and to honor that assumption with faithful silence, watching with alert interest as the signs multiply around you. Now there is another dimension to this practice of silence, that we must explore the silencing of the internal voice of doubt and contradiction. For many, this inner voice is far more destructive to manifestation than any external discussion could ever be. You may refrain from speaking of your desires to others, yet maintain a running commentary within your mind that contradicts the very state you are attempting to assume. This internal argument must be silenced if your manifestation is to proceed unimpeded. Remember the biblical injunction, let the weak say, I am strong. Not I will be strong, not I am becoming strong, but I am strong, the full acknowledgement of the desired state as an accomplished fact. When the internal voice argues, but you are not strong, you are weak, true silence consists of gently but firmly refusing to entertain this contradiction. A useful practice is to respond to all internal doubts with a simple statement. That may be true in the world of shadows, but in the reality of my consciousness, where creation actually occurs, I am precisely what I have assumed myself to be. Then return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This internal silence, this refusal to argue with your manifestation, creates a vacuum that must be filled. Nature abhors a vacuum, and into the quiet space created by your silenced doubts will flow evidence of your new reality. A distinguished physician who attended my lectures in San Francisco shared with me his experience with this practice. For years he had struggled with an inner voice that constantly reminded him of his humble beginnings, suggesting he was an impostor in his profession despite his credentials and accomplishments. After learning the principle of silence, he began systematically refusing to engage with these thoughts. Whenever the doubtful inner voice spoke, he would acknowledge it briefly, then firmly turn his attention to the consciousness of being an exceptional, confident physician beloved by his patients and respected by his colleagues. The external signs were remarkable, he told me. Within weeks of adopting this practice of inner silence, I received an invitation to speak at a prestigious medical conference, something I had always desired but never been offered. A journal published an article I had submitted months earlier and had nearly forgotten about. Former patients began referring their friends and family to my practice in unprecedented numbers. The most striking sign, he continued, came when a senior colleague who had always been somewhat cold toward me stopped me in the hospital corridor and said, I don't know what's different about you lately, but your diagnostic insights have been exceptional. I find myself looking forward to our consultations. Nothing in my technical abilities had changed. What had changed was my consciousness. And the science confirmed that my inner silence was bearing fruit. This, my friends, is the pattern you will observe in your own life when you practice both external and internal silence regarding your manifestations. The signs will come with increasing frequency and specificity, confirming that the seed planted in imagination is growing toward its inevitable expression in reality. Now, allow me to address another aspect of silence and manifestation science that is seldom discussed but tremendously important. There will be times in your practice when, despite your faithful silence and consistent assumption, the external world seems to move in precisely the opposite direction from your desire. This apparent contradiction is itself a manifestation sign of the highest order, though few recognize it as such. When your external reality appears to worsen after you have assumed your wish fulfilled, it is evidence that the old structure of your life is being dismantled to make way for the new. This is what the Bible refers to as the shaking of the foundations, the necessary reorganization of your affairs that must precede the establishment of your new state. I recall a woman who had applied the law to manifest a happy marriage after years of disappointment in relationships. Upon assuming the consciousness of being happily married to a loving, compatible partner, she maintained perfect confidence about her inner work. Within weeks, her current relationship, which had been stagnant but comfortable, suddenly dissolved in a series of unexpected conflicts. Her living situation changed abruptly, forcing a move. A job opportunity arose requiring relocation to another city. Friends expressed concern, seeing only the apparent dissolution of her life's stability. Had she broken her silence and engaged with their concerns, accepting their perspective of tragedy and loss, the bridge of incidents would have been interrupted, Instead, she recognized these dramatic changes as necessary components of her manifestation, the clearing away of structures that could not support her new state of consciousness. She maintained both her assumption and her silence, watching with alert interest as events unfolded. Within 6 months of this apparent collapse of her previous life, she had met and married a man who embodied every quality she had included in her assumption, in circumstances that could never have manifested had her previous relationship, location, and employment remained intact. The lesson here is profound. The signs of your manifestation may include apparent setbacks that are in reality the perfect path toward your desires' fulfillment. In silence, you develop the wisdom to recognize these signs correctly, neither resisting them nor interpreting them as failure of your manifestation. This brings us to a critical understanding about the practice of silence of manifestation science. The ultimate purpose of this practice is not merely to obtain the things or circumstances you desire, but to develop a direct first-hand knowledge of how creation works. It is to experience yourself as the creative power of the universe, to know yourself as God in action. Each time you maintain faithful silence and witness the signs of your manifestation unfolding in perfect order, you deepen this knowledge. It becomes not merely an intellectual concept, but a lived experience, as real and undeniable as your own hand before your face. With each successful manifestation, your consciousness expands. What once seemed miraculous becomes natural. What once required careful practice becomes spontaneous. You move gradually from the consciousness of applying techniques to manifest desires to the consciousness of being the manifestation power itself, expressing naturally through all aspects of your life. Consider the development of any skill, playing the piano, for instance. The beginner must consciously think about each note, each finger placement. With practice, the conscious effort diminishes until the accomplished pianist plays complex compositions without thought, the music flowing through them as a natural expression of their being. So it is with manifestation. The conscious application of technique, the deliberate assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the disciplined maintenance of silence eventually gives way to spontaneous creative expression. You no longer use the law. You experience yourself as the law in operation. The observation of manifestation science plays a crucial role in this development. Each sign you recognize is confirmation not merely of your specific desire's progress, but of the broader truth of your creative nature. Each sign strengthens your conviction, not in the law as something external to be applied, but in yourself as the creative principle in expression. I knew a man who began his study of the law with small manifestations, parking spaces, unexpected sums of money, specific encounters. He practiced faithful silence and became adept at recognizing the signs that preceded each manifestation. As his confidence grew, he expanded his application to larger desires: a specific home, a career advancement, the resolution of a long-standing family conflict. In each case, his recognition of the preliminary signs strengthened his conviction in the inevitable fulfillment of his assumption. After several years of this practice, I noticed a profound shift in his demeanor and his reports of his experience. He no longer spoke of working to manifest specific desires. Instead, he described living in a state of continuous creation, where his consciousness naturally expressed as harmonious conditions without deliberate effort. The most significant change, he told me, is that I no longer see manifestation signs as separate events pointing towards some future fulfillment. I now recognize that all of experience is a sign, a reflection of what I am conscious of being. The entire universe is a manifestation sign, responding precisely to my state of consciousness in each moment. This, my friends, is the higher understanding toward which our practice leads. The ultimate silence is not merely the disciplined non-discussion of specific desires. It is the tranquil mind that has transcended the need for external validation of its creative power. The ultimate recognition of signs is not merely noticing synchronicities that precede manifestation. It is the direct perception of all experience as the immediate expression of consciousness. Now, some of you may wonder, if silence is so crucial to successful manifestation, how are we to understand the scriptural injunction to make your requests known unto God? Does this not imply that we should speak our desires? The resolution of this apparent contradiction lies in correctly identifying who or what God is. God is not an entity separate from yourself, to whom requests must be communicated. God is your own wonderful human imagination. The speech that communicates with God is not verbal expression, but the language of feeling and assumption. You make your request known unto God by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, by experiencing in imagination the reality of your desire accomplished. This inner communication requires no words, no verbal or written expression. It is the direct impregnation of the subconscious through the medium of feeling. This is the true meaning of prayer, not beseeching an external deity, but communing with the creative power of your own consciousness through the assumption of the reality of your desire. And this communion is most perfect when wrapped in golden silence, undisturbed by the contradictions of external discussion or internal doubt. Let me share with you a personal experience that illustrates this principle with particular clarity. Many years ago, before I fully understood the law, as I now teach it, I desired to leave the island of Barbados and travel to the United States. The circumstances of my life at that time made such a journey seem impossible. I had no money, no connections in America, no obvious path to realize this desire. One night, in the quiet of my small room, I applied what I then understood of imaginative power. Rather than speaking my wish to others, or even formulating it in words within my own mind, I simply assumed the feeling of being in New York City. I felt the cool air of a New York autumn compared to the tropical climate I knew. I felt the solidity of pavement beneath my feet, rather than the familiar island soil. I heard the unique cacophony of New York traffic replacing the sounds of my island home. I maintained complete silence about this inner work. I told no one of my desire to travel to America, nor of my imaginative practice. Indeed, I scarcely acknowledged it consciously to myself after that night, returning to my daily routine without anxious attention to my manifestation. Within weeks, I began noticing unusual signs. A newspaper article about New York appeared prominently, though I had never sought such information. A distant acquaintance of my family mentioned their connection to someone in the shipping industry. Small sums of money came to me through unexpected channels. Had I discussed these signs with others, they would have seemed insignificant, coincidental. Had I analyzed them anxiously, trying to construct a logical bridge between these occurrences and my desired travel, I might have dismissed them as insufficient. But in my silence, I simply observed them with quiet interest, neither doubting nor attaching excessive significance to them. The signs accumulated. The seemingly disconnected events formed a pattern that, in retrospect, was leading unerringly toward the fulfillment of my desire. Within months, through a series of circumstances that appeared miraculous from the outside, but that I recognized as the natural unfoldment of my assumption, I found myself aboard a ship bound for New York, all obstacles having been dissolved through no conscious effort of my own. This experience and countless others in my life and in the lives of those who have applied these principles has convinced me beyond any doubt of the creative power of consciousness and the crucial role of silence in allowing that power to express freely. The signs of manifestation are always present for those with eyes to see and the wisdom to remain silent as the seed of assumption grows to fruition. These signs are not coincidences, not random events, but the logical, lawful unfoldment of the creative process initiated in consciousness. My friends, as we approach the conclusion of our discussion, let me emphasize more staying silent to the fertile soil in which your manifestations grow most vigorously. External silence, refraining from discussion of your desires and practices, protects the delicate seed of assumption from the potentially withering effect of contradiction and doubt from others. Internal silence, refusing to engage with your own questioning thoughts, maintains the integrity of your assumption until it manifests as objective fact. In this dual silence, you will indeed start seeing manifestation signs everywhere. The entire universe will rearrange itself to reflect the truth of what you have accepted in consciousness. These signs are not the fulfillment itself, but the shadows cast by the approaching manifestation as it moves from the realm of imagination into physical expression. Learn to recognize these signs without breaking your silence to discuss them. Acknowledge them privately as confirmation of your creative power. Then continue in the calm assumption of your wish fulfilled. The signs will multiply and intensify until the full manifestation stands before you as accomplished fact. Remember always, your consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being, you must become. In the silence of pure assumption, undisturbed by external discussion or internal contradiction, this creative process proceeds with perfect precision according to law. I challenge you to test this principle in your own experience. Select a desire, perhaps something that has thus far eluded your attempts at manifestation. Formulate clearly in your mind the state you wish to attain. Then, in a moment of quiet relaxation, assume the feeling of already having realized this state. Feel the naturalness of it, the reality of it, until the assumption carries the conviction of reality. Then maintain your silence, both external and internal. Tell no one of what you have done. Do not analyze the process or look anxiously for results. Simply live from the assumption that what you have imagined is already fact. Watch with alert, but detached interest as the signs begin to appear in your world. Note them, acknowledge them privately, then continue in your calm assumption. The signs will increase in frequency and relevance, constructing the bridge of incidents that leads inevitably to your manifestation's complete expression in reality. This is the law, and it operates with mathematical precision for anyone who applies it correctly. The silence you maintain is not inaction, but the most profound form of action, the deliberate focusing of creative power without dissipation through speech or doubt. In this silence, you participate consciously in the divine creative process that is your birthright. You experience yourself as God in action, as the imagining power that shapes reality itself. There's no higher calling, no more worthy endeavor than this conscious cooperation with the creative principle of the universe. So I say to you with all the conviction of my being, stay silent, and you will indeed see manifestation signs everywhere, signs that confirm your true identity as the operant power of the universe, signs that validate your direct participation in the creation of your reality, signs that herald the imminent expression of your assumption as concrete fact in your world. The signs are the shadows cast by your approaching manifestation. The fulfillment itself, the complete expression of your assumption in physical reality, follows the signs with the same certainty that the body follows the shadow, that the object follows its reflection. In faithful silence, observe these signs with gratitude and continue in confidence in the perfect operation of the law. Then when your manifestation stands before you as accomplished fact, you may speak of it, if you wish, not as something gained through technique or effort, but as the natural expression of what you have been conscious of being. This is the mystery and the glory of your creative nature. This is the practical application of the highest spiritual truth. This is the law that sets you free from limitation and reveals you to yourself as the divine creative power in expression. Stay silent, watch for the signs, and know beyond all doubt that what you have assumed in consciousness must manifest in your experience. It is done. You see, my dear friends, the world of manifestation, that is the world of physical activity, is not the primary reality. It is, in fact, secondary to the world of imagination. Your imagination is the very workshop of creation, the place where all things begin. It is the source from which all that is made flows forth into being. And it is through the power of your imagination, harnessed and directed through visualization, that you can shape your reality to match your deepest desires. Now I know that for many of you, this may seem like a radical concept. You have been taught from childhood that the world is a fixed, unyielding place, and that your role in it is largely that of a passive observer, subject to forces beyond your control. But I am here to tell you that nothing could be further from the truth. You are not a mere spectator in the grand theater of life, but its author, director, and star performer, all rolled into one. The technique I am about to share with you is not new. It is old as consciousness itself. It has been used by the great mystics, sages, and creators throughout history. It is the very method by which the universe itself came into being. And yet, for all its power and antiquity, it remains largely unknown or misunderstood by the vast majority of people. This technique is based on a simple yet profound principle. That which you hold in your imagination with feeling and conviction must, by the very laws of creation, manifest in your physical experience. It is not a matter of if, but when. The only variable is the intensity of your belief and the clarity of your vision. Let us begin by understanding the nature of imagination itself. Your imagination is not, as many believe, a frivolous faculty useful only for daydreaming or entertaining idleness. It is in fact the very essence of your being. It is the God power within you, the creative force that shapes worlds. When you imagine, you are literally tapping into the same power that brings galaxies into being and sustains the very fabric of existence. That here's the crucial point. Your imagination operates unceasingly, whether you are consciously aware of it or not. Every moment of every day, you are using this God power to create your reality. The question is not whether you are using your imagination, but how you are using it. Are you using it consciously with purpose and direction, or are you allowing it to run wild, reflecting and magnifying your fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs? The technique I am about to share with you will enable you to harness this power consciously and deliberately. It will allow you to direct the full force of your creative imagination towards the realization of your desires. And make no mistake, my friends, when applied correctly and consistently, this technique never fails. It cannot fail, for it is based on the fundamental laws of creation itself. Now let us delve into the heart of this technique. The first step is to clearly what it is you wish to experience. This may seem obvious, but it is a step that many overlook or rush through. You must be absolutely clear about what you want. Vague wishes or general hopes will not suffice. You must be specific and detailed in your desire. Once you have clearly defined your desire, the next step is to create a scene in your imagination that implies the fulfillment of this desire. This is where many people falter, for they focus on the process of achieving their desire rather than the end result. But I tell you this, the how is not your concern. Your task is to focus solely on the end, on the feeling of your desire fulfilled. For example, let's say your desire is for a new home. Don't visualize the process of house hunting, securing a mortgage, or moving. Instead, create a scene that implies you are already living in your new home. Perhaps you are entertaining friends in your living room or waking up in your bedroom. The specific scene doesn't matter as long as it implies the fulfillment of your desire. Now here's where the real power of this technique comes into play. Once you have created your scene, you must enter into it fully. You must make it so real in your imagination that it takes on the tones of reality. You must see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, hear it. Use all your senses to make this imaginal scene as vivid and real as possible. But mere visualization is not enough. The key to this technique, the element that makes it unfailingly effective, is feeling. You must feel the reality of your imagined scene. You must generate within yourself the emotions you would experience if your desire were already fulfilled. This feeling is the secret and the power of the entire operation. You see, my dear friends, in the realm of imagination, there is no distinction between what is real and what is imagined. Your subconscious mind, which is directly connected to the creative power of the universe, cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical. When you combine clear visualization with genuine, you are literally experiencing your desire in a realm that is more real, more fundamental than the physical world. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, I've tried visualization before, and it didn't work. To this I say, you have not truly visualized until you have felt the reality of your agency. Mere mental pictures are not enough. You must feel it to be real. You must generate within yourself the conviction that what you are imagining is not a future possibility, but a present fact. This is where most people falter in their attempts at manifestation. They treat their imaginal scenes as pleasant fantasies or hopeful daydreams. But I tell you this, your imaginal acts must be as real to you as any physical experience. In fact, they must be more real, for they are the cause and physical reality is merely the effect. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Suppose you desire financial abundance. Many people, when they visualize wealth, see themselves counting money or looking at a bank statement with a large balance. But these are external symbols of wealth. They do not capture the feeling of being wealthy. Instead, I want you to imagine a scene that implies the feeling of financial abundance. Perhaps you're sitting in a beautiful restaurant ordering whatever you desire without a second thought about the cost. Or maybe you're calmly writing a large check for a charitable cause dear to your heart, knowing that you have more than enough. Feel the peace, the security, the joy that comes with true financial abundance. Let these feelings permeate your entire being. When you can do this, when you can make your imaginal scene so real that it elicits genuine emotion, you are set in motion forces that must, by the very nature of creation, bring your desire to physical manifestation. For you see, my friends, the outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner world. What you hold to be true in your imagination with feeling must externalize itself in your experience. Now I can sense that some of you are struggling with this concept. You're thinking, but Neville, how can my imagination change external circumstances? How can it affect other people or events beyond my control? And to this I say there are no external circumstances. There are no other people in the sense that you think of them. There is only consciousness, only imagination. This may seem like a radical statement, but I assure you it is the absolute truth. The entire universe, with all its seeming solidity and complexity, is nothing more than consciousness made visible. And your individual consciousness is not separate from the universal consciousness. It is one with it, a focal point of the infinite creative power that underlies all of existence. When you truly grasp this truth, when you internalize it and make it the foundation of your understanding, you will see that there are no limits to what you can achieve through the power of your imagination. For in reality, you are not changing external circumstances at all. You are simply shifting your consciousness. And in doing so, you shift the entire universe. Let's delve deeper into this concept, for it is crucial to understanding the full power of the technique I am sharing with you. Most people believe that their thoughts and feelings are a reaction to external circumstances. They believe that they feel happy because something good happened, or sad because something bad occurred. But I tell you this, your thoughts and feelings are not the effect of circumstances, they are the cause of them. Your consciousness is the only reality. The world you experience is nothing more than your consciousness pushed out. Every person, every object, every circumstance in your life is a reflection of your own mental states. This is why two people can experience the same external event in completely different ways. It's not the event itself that determines their experience, but their consciousness. Now, I know this may be difficult to accept at first. It flies in the face of everything you've been taught about the nature of reality. But I urge you to test this principle for yourself. For when you begin to live from this understanding, you will experience a freedom and a power beyond anything you've ever known. Let's return to our technique of visualization. When you create a scene implying the fulfillment of your desire, and when you enter into that scene with full sensory vividness and genuine feeling, you are literally rearranging the entire universe. You are shifting your consciousness, and in doing so, you are shifting the reflection that is your physical reality. This is why it's so crucial to persist in your imaginal act until it takes on the tones of reality. You must continue to return to your scene, to live in it and from it, until it feels more real to you than your current physical circumstances. This is not always easy. It requires discipline and persistence. But I assure you the results are well worth the effort. Now, some of you may be wondering about the role of action in this process. You may be thinking, surely, Neville, we must do something in the physical world to bring about our desires. And to this I say, inspired action will naturally flow from your shift in consciousness. When you have truly impressed your subconscious mind with the reality of desire fulfilled, you will find yourself naturally taking the right actions at the right time. But, and this is crucial, you must not force action from a place of lack or need. Any action taken from the belief that you need to make your desire happen is counterproductive. It stems from a lack of faith in the creative power of your imagination. Instead, allow action to arise naturally as a result of your new state of consciousness. Remember, the world is a shadow, a reflection of your inner world. When you change the inner, the outer must change to match you. This is not wishful thinking or magical thinking. It is the fundamental law of creation. It is how the universe itself operates. Now let me address another question that often arises when I speak of this technique. Many people ask, how long will it take for my desire to manifest? And to this I say, time is an illusion of the physical world. In the realm of imagination, where all creation takes place, there is no time. Your desire is fulfilled the moment you feel the reality of its fulfillment in your imagination. The time it takes for your desire to appear in your physical appearance depends on many factors, including the naturalness of the desire, the intensity of your feeling, and your ability to persist in the assumption of its fulfillment. But know this, the moment you have succeeded in feeling the reality of desire fulfilled, its manifestation in the physical world is assured. This brings us to another crucial aspect of this technique, detachment. Once you have impressed your subconscious mind with the reality of your desire fulfilled, you must release it. You must let go of anxiety or urgency about its manifestation. For anxiety and urgency stem from a lack of faith, from the belief that your desire is not yet yours. Instead, lie from the calm assurance that what you have experienced in imagination is now a fact. Go about your daily life from this new state of consciousness. This doesn't mean you forget about your desire. Rather, you live from the state of its fulfillment, regardless of what your physical senses are telling you. This detachment is not indifference. It is supreme confidence. It is the knowing that what you have claimed in imagination is now yours in reality, and that its physical manifestation is merely a matter of time. This attitude of calm assurance is incredibly powerful. It aligns you with the creative forces of the universe and allows your desire to manifest with ease and grace. Now I want to address a common pitfall that many fall into when practicing this technique. They visualize their desire, they feel its reality, and then they look to the physical world for signs of its manifestation. When they don't see immediate results, they become discouraged and doubt the process. But I tell you this, do not judge by appearances. The physical world, being the shadow of consciousness, often takes time to reflect the changes in your imagination. Your task is to persist in the assumption of your desire fulfilled, regardless of what your physical senses are telling you. Remember, your senses show you the world as it was, not as it is becoming. This persistence in the face of contrary evidence is what separates those who succeed with this technique from those who fail. It requires faith, not blind faith, but faith born of understanding. Faith in the creative power of your own imagination. Faith that what you have experienced as real in your imagination must, by the very laws of creation, manifest in your physical reality. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Suppose you are using this technique to manifest a promotion at work. You create a scene implying you have already received the promotion. Perhaps you imagine yourself sitting in your new office or receiving congratulations from your colleagues. You enter fully into this scene, making it vivid and real in your imagination. You feel the joy, the pride, the sense of accomplishment that comes with this promotion. Now, having done this, you go to work the next day. Nothing seems to have changed. Your boss doesn't mention anything about a promotion. Your colleagues treat you the same as always. This is where many people falter. They allow the evidence of their physical senses to negate their imaginal experience. But the person who understands the true power of this technique does not waver. They continue to live from the assumption that the promotion is theirs. They interact with their boss and colleagues from this new state of consciousness. They perform their work with the confidence and authority of someone in their new position. They persist in this assumption, regardless of appearances, until the physical world reshapes itself to match their inner conviction. This, my dear friends, is the true test of your faith in this technique. Can you persist in the assumption of your desire fulfilled and all physical evidence that seems to contradict it? Can you remain loyal to your experience in the face of apparent failure or delay? If you can, then I assure you your success is guaranteed. For you see, this technique is not about forcing the world to bend to your will. It is about aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. It is about realizing that you are one with this power. It flows that is through you and as you. When you visualize this feeling, you are not sending out a request to some external force. You are awakening to the truth of who you really are, a creative force capable of shaping reality itself. Now let's delve even deeper into the mechanics of this technique. When you create your scene and enter into its full sensory vividness, you are doing something truly remarkable. You are literally creating a new memory. Your subconscious mind, which cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one, accepts this new memory as fact. This is crucial because your subconscious mind is the part of you that is directly connected to the creative power of the universe. It is the part of you that shapes your reality according to your beliefs and assumptions. By impressing a new memory upon your subconscious, you are literally reprogramming the metrics of your reality. Think about this for a moment. Every experience you've ever had, every belief you hold, every assumption you make about the nature of reality, all of these are based on memories. They are based on past experiences that have shaped your understanding of what is possible and what is not. But what if you could create new memories? Memories of experiences you desire, but have not yet had it in the physical world. This is exactly what you're doing when you use this visualization technique correctly. You are creating a new memory of your desire fulfilled, and your subconscious mind, accepting this new memory as fact, begins to reshape your reality to match it. It influences your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and even the actions of others around you, all to bring about the manifestation of your imagined experience. This is why it's so important to make your imaginal scene as vivid and real as possible. The more real it feels, the more readily your subconscious mind will accept it as fact. And the more completely your subconscious accepts it, the more powerfully and rapidly it will work to bring it into physical manifestation. Now, some of you may be thinking, but Neville, what if I can't make my imaginal scene feel real? What if I struggle to generate feeling of my desire fulfilled? To this I say practice. Like any skill, the ability to make your imaginal scenes feel real improves with practice. Start with small things. Visualize yourself enjoying a favorite meal or receiving good news. Practice feeling the reality of these simple scenes until it becomes second nature. As you become more adept at this, you can move on to larger desires. But remember, the size of the desire is irrelevant to the creative power of your imagination. In the realm of imagination, there is no distinction between big and small desires. All are equally possible, equally real. Another powerful aspect of this technique is repetition. While a single intensely real imagination can be enough to set the fields of manifestation in motion, repeated imaginal acts can be incredibly powerful. They serve to deepen your conviction, to make your new assumption feel more and more natural. But, and this is crucial, your repetitions must not stem from a sense of lack or need. You're not repeating your imaginal act because you're trying to make it happen. You're repeating it because it's enjoyable, because living from the state of your desire fulfilled is pleasurable in itself. Each repetition should deepen your feeling of naturalness, your sense that this is simply who you are and how your world is. Now let's address another important point. Some of you may be wondering about the ethics of this technique. You may be thinking, if I can manifest anything I desire, what's to stop me from using this power selfishly or to harm others? This is a profound question, and it speaks to the very nature of consciousness and creation. First, let me say this: true harm to another is impossible in the highest sense because there is no other in reality. We are all one consciousness, individualized into seemingly separate beings. What you do to another, you do to yourself. This understanding naturally leads to an ethical use of this creative power. Moreover, as you begin to use this technique and experience its results, you will find your desires naturally becoming more aligned with the highest good of all. For you will realize that your joy or fulfillment is not separate from the joy and fulfillment of others. You will find yourself naturally desiring and creating experiences that uplift and benefit not just yourself, but all of consciousness. This brings us to another crucial point. the importance of your state of being. You see, my dear friends, what you get is not always what you think you want, but always a perfect reflection of your state of being. This is why it's so important to focus on the feeling of your desire fulfilled rather than on the external symbols of circumstances. For example, if you think you want wealth because you believe it will make you feel secure and free, focus on the feeling of security and freedom rather than on specific amounts of money. For it's entirely possible to have great wealth and still feel insecure and constrained. Conversely, it's possible to feel deeply secure and free with modest means. By focusing on the state of being you desire, you open yourself to countless ways in which the universe can deliver that state to you. This understanding also helps to dissolve any sense of conflict or competition in your manifestations. You're not trying to get something at the expense of someone else. You're simply aligning yourself with the state of being you desire and allowing the infinite creativity of the universe to bring it in a way that serves the highest good of all. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to touch on one final crucial point. This technique, powerful as it is not merely a tool for getting things or achieving specific goals. It is in its deepest sense a path to self-realization. For as you practice this technique, as you experience its results, you come to a profound realization you are the creator of your reality. This realization is nothing less than an awakening to your true nature. You begin to understand that you are not a limited physical being subject to the whims of an external world. You are consciousness itself, the very substance and source of all that is. The world you experience is your consciousness made visible. As this understanding deepens, you may find your desires changing. The things you once thought would bring you fulfillment may lose their appeal. Instead, you may find yourself drawn to experiences that expand your consciousness, that allow you to express more and more of your true divine nature. This, my dear friends, is the ultimate purpose of this technique. Yes, it can bring you the things you desire in the physical world. But more importantly, it can lead you to the realization of who you truly are. It can awaken you to your own divine nature, to the limitless creative power that is your birthright. So as you go forth from here, as you begin to apply this technique in your own life, remember this: you are not merely seeking to change your circumstances. You are embarking on a journey of self-discovery. You are uncovering the truth of your own being. And in doing so, you are fulfilling the very purpose of creation itself. This is the entire universe, with all its infinite diversity and complexity, is consciousness exploring itself, experiencing itself in endless variety as a form and expression. And you in your individual life are the universe doing exactly that. Your desires, your imaginal acts, your experiences, all are the universe coming to know itself through you. As you use this technique, as you create and live from the state of your desires fulfilled, you are participating consciously in this grand adventure of creation. You are aligning yourself with the very purpose of existence. And in doing so, you open yourself to experiences of joy, fulfillment, one wonder beyond anything you may have previously imagined. So go forth, my beloved friends, and create. Use this technique with confidence and joy. Know that as you do so, you are not just changing your individual circumstances, but participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. You are fulfilling your divine purpose, expressing the infinite creative power that is your true nature. Remember always, your imagination is the God power within you. It is the creative force that shapes worlds. Use it wisely, use it lovingly, and use it often. For in doing so, you not only transform your own life, but you contribute to the transformation of all of creation. And know this, as you embark on this journey, as you begin to live from the power of your imagination, you are never alone. The entire universe supports you in your creative endeavors. For your success, your joy, your fulfillment is the success, joy, and fulfillment of life itself. So visualize boldly, feel deeply, and persist faithfully. For as you do, align yourself with the very power that creates worlds. And that alignment, all things become possible. You become the conscious author of your life. the deliberate creator of your reality. This, my dear friends, is your birthright. This is your true nature. Claim it, live from it. And watch in wonder as your world transforms to match the beauty and power of your own divine imagination. Thank you, and may your journey of conscious creation be filled with joy, wonder, and the deep satisfaction of expressing your true divine nature. Remember always, you are the operant power in your world. You are the God power made manifest. Live from this truth, and all that you desire must come to pass. For such is the law of creation, and such is the power of your own wonderful human imagination. I wish to share with you the most profound truth about happiness, a truth so simple yet so revolutionary that it will transform your entire existence once you truly grasp it. Happiness is not something to be pursued. It is not something to be found. Happiness is a state of consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality. Let me tell you why this understanding is so crucial to your life. Every single thing you experience, every emotion you feel, every circumstance you encounter originates first in your consciousness. Your mind is not merely a recorder of events, it is the creator of all that you experience. When I tell you I can do it, you can do it, we can do it. I am not speaking of mere positive thinking. I am revealing to you the very law by which the universe operates. For in consciousness, in your wonderful human imagination, there is no limitation, no boundary, no impossibility. Consider this profound truth right now. In this very moment, you are choosing your state of consciousness. You are selecting the feeling that dominates your being. And that feeling, that state of consciousness, must externalize itself in your world. For this is law. I tell you from my own experience, and from witnessing countless transformations in others, that when you truly understand that happiness is a choice of consciousness, your entire world transforms. For what you feel with conviction in consciousness must objectify itself in your world. Let me share with you what I mean when I say, I can do it. When I make this statement, I am not speaking from a place of hoping or wishing. I am speaking from a state of knowing. For in consciousness, I have already done it. In consciousness, I have already achieved it. In consciousness, I am already experiencing it. You see, the outer world is nothing more than your inner world objectified. Everything you now see and experience was first only imagined. Therefore, when you say, I can do it, you are not making a statement about future possibility. You are declaring a present reality in consciousness. Think of it this way. When you say you can do it, you are acknowledging the divine power within another. You are recognizing that they too are God in expression, temporarily wearing the mask of humanity. For there is only one consciousness, one God, one I am, expressing itself through all. And when we declare together we can do it, we are acknowledging the ultimate truth, that we are all one consciousness, one divine being, expressing itself through seemingly separate forms. In this understanding lies the secret of true happiness, true achievement, true fulfillment. Let me tell you something about happiness that few understand. Happiness is not dependent on external circumstances. It is not the result of what happens to you. Happiness is a choice you make in consciousness, and that choice shapes everything that follows. I remember a lady who came to me in deep despair. Her circumstances were dire, her future seemed bleak, and she could see no reason for happiness. I told her something that transformed her life. Your consciousness is the only reality. Choose now to enter the state of happiness, regardless of circumstances, and watch as your entire world reshapes itself to match your new state. She did this faithfully, and within weeks, her entire world transformed. Not because external circumstances changed first, but because she changed her state of consciousness first. For this is the law, the outer must conform to the inner. When you say, I can do it, you must feel the truth of it in your consciousness. Feel the confidence, feel the certainty, feel the natural knowing that comes with true ability. For feeling is the secret, and what you feel with conviction must externalize itself in your world. Consider what happens when you truly understand that happiness is not something to pursue, but a state to assume. In your imagination, which is your real being, you can in one moment shift from despair to delight, from limitation to boundless possibility. This is not fantasy. This is the law of consciousness in operation. When you declare, I can do it, you must understand that you are not speaking to some future possibility. You are claiming your present power. For in consciousness, where all creation takes place, there is no time. The future you desire exists now in your imagination, waiting to be claimed through your assumption. Let me share with you a principle that will revolutionize your understanding of happiness and achievement. Your consciousness is the only reality. Therefore, when you assume the feeling of happiness, when you live from the state of I can do it, you are creating the only place where creation can occur. Think about this. Every great achievement in human history began with someone saying, I can do it. But they didn't just say it with their lips. They felt it with their whole being. They lived from that state of consciousness until it became their reality. This is the secret that all great achievers have known. When you say you can do it to another, you are actually acknowledging the divine power within them. You are recognizing that they too are God in expression. For there is only one consciousness, one God, expressing itself through all of humanity. Your recognition of their power helps to awaken it within them. And when we join together in declaring we can do it, we are acknowledging the ultimate truth, that we are all one consciousness, temporarily wearing different masks. In this understanding lies the secret of true cooperation, true achievement, true happiness. Let me tell you something about the nature of happiness that few understand. Happiness is not a response to events. It is a choice of consciousness that determines how events will unfold. When you choose to live from the state of happiness, the entire universe must rearrange itself to match your assumption. I remember a young man who came to me frustrated with his inability to achieve his goals. He had tried everything, he said, but nothing seemed to work. I told him, stop trying to achieve and start assuming the feeling of the achievement. Live from the end. Feel the happiness of accomplishment now. He looked at me puzzled and asked, but how can I feel happy about something that hasn't happened? I replied, your outer world is merely your inner world objectified. What you establish in consciousness today must manifest in your world tomorrow. This is law. You see, when you say, I can do it, while feeling defeated, you are contradicting yourself in consciousness. But when you assume the feeling of already having done it, when you live from that state of accomplishment, you are creating in the only place where creation can occur, in consciousness. Let me share with you a secret about the phrase, you can do it. When you say this to another, you must say it from the consciousness of already seeing them successful. Feel the joy of their achievement. Feel the naturalness of their success. For in consciousness, where all things exist, you are helping to awaken their own divine power. And when we declare we can do it, we are entering into the highest form of creative activity. For in that declaration, properly felt and understood, we are acknowledging our oneness with all creation. We are recognizing that what benefits one benefits all, for we are all one consciousness. Think of happiness not as something to achieve, but as something to accept now. In your imagination, which is your real being, you can this very moment accept the feeling of happiness, regardless of circumstances. And what you accept in consciousness must manifest in your world. Let me tell you of a principle that never fails. The intensity of your feeling determines the speed of its manifestation. When you declare, I can do it, you must feel it with your whole being. Feel the confidence. Feel the certainty. Feel the natural knowing that comes with true ability. Consider this eternal truth about the power you hold within your own being. When you truly grasp that happiness is your natural state, that achievement is your divine right, you begin to operate from an entirely new level of consciousness. For consciousness is the only reality. And what you establish there must manifest in your world. Let me tell you why the statement, I can do it, holds such power when properly understood. It is not merely a positive affirmation. It is a declaration of your true nature. For you are God in expression, temporarily wearing the mask of humanity, and to God, all things are possible. Think about this. Every time you say, I can't, you are denying your divine nature. You are choosing to live in a state of consciousness that must by law manifest limitation in your world. But when you declare, I can do it, and feel the truth of it, you are aligning with your true power. I remember a man who came to me burdened by years of failure. He had convinced himself that happiness and success were for others, not for him. I told him something that changed his life forever. The you that you think you are did not create the world. The you that you really are did create it. You see, when you say you can do it to another, you are speaking to their divine nature, not to their limited human concept of self. You are addressing the God within them, the same God that is within you. For there is only one God, one consciousness, expressing itself through all. And when we join together in the understanding of we can do it, we are acknowledging the highest truth, that we are all one being, one consciousness, having multiple experiences. In this recognition lies the secret of true power, true achievement, true happiness. Let me share with you a profound truth about happiness that few understand. Happiness is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens from you. It is a state of consciousness that you choose to occupy. And once chosen with conviction, it must externalize itself in your world. Think of it this way. Every moment of your life, you are selecting a state of consciousness. Every feeling you entertain, every assumption you accept as true, is creating your future. Therefore, when you choose the state of happiness, when you live from the consciousness of I can do it, you are literally creating your tomorrow. I tell you from experience that this law is unfailing. What you feel with conviction in consciousness must objectify itself in your world. This is not theory. This is law. Just as gravity operates without your belief or disbelief, this law of consciousness operates whether you understand it or not. Consider the power that lies within the statement, you can do it. When you say this to another, truly feeling the truth of it, you are helping to awaken the God within them. You are calling forth their divine nature, their unlimited potential, their true being. And when we declare together we can do it, we are entering into the highest form of creative activity. We are acknowledging our oneness with all creation, our unity with the divine, our inseparable connection with infinite possibility. Let me tell you something about achievement that will transform your understanding forever. Achievement is not something you work towards. It is something you accept in consciousness now. For in consciousness, where all creation takes place, there is no time. The future you desire exists now, waiting to be claimed through your assumption. Think of what I am telling you now. Every moment of frustration, every moment of doubt, every moment of fear is simply a misuse of your imagination. For your imagination, your consciousness, is the very substance from which all reality springs. When you say, I can do it, you are not making a prediction, you are making a decision in consciousness. Let me share with you a principle that has transformed countless lives. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret of creation. When you feel happy now, when you feel successful now, when you feel capable now, you are creating from the only place where creation is possible, in consciousness. I remember a woman who claimed that happiness always eluded her. She was constantly pursuing it, constantly seeking it in external circumstances. I told her, stop pursuing happiness and start assuming it. For happiness, like every other state, exists now in your consciousness, waiting to be claimed. You see, when you truly understand that you can do it, that others can do it, that we collectively can do it, you are operating from the highest spiritual law. For in consciousness, there is no separation. What you claim for yourself, you claim for all. And what you claim for all, you claim for yourself. Consider this. Every time you entertain a thought of limitation, every time you attend your idea of I can't, you are denying your divine nature. For the I am within you, which is God himself, knows no limitation. To this infinite being that you really are, all things are possible. Let me tell you something about the power of collective consciousness. When we declare we can do it, we are not merely expressing optimism. We are entering into a spiritual agreement. We are recognizing our oneness with all creation, our unity with the divine, our inseparable connection with infinite possibility. Think about the phrase "you can do it" in a new way. When you say this to another, you are speaking to the God within them. You are acknowledging their divine nature, their unlimited potential, their true being. And in doing so, you help to awaken this realization within them. I tell you now, with absolute certainty, that happiness is not something to be pursued, but something to be assumed. It is not something to be found, but something to be expressed. For happiness, like all states of consciousness, exists now within you, waiting to be claimed. Consider how different your life would be if you truly understood that you could do anything, not from a place of human effort or striving, but from a place of divine knowing. For when you say, "I can do it," from this place of understanding, you are speaking with the voice of God Himself. Let me share with you a secret about manifestation that few understand. The outer world is nothing more than your inner world objectified. Therefore, when you maintain the consciousness of "I can do it," when you live from the state of happiness now, your entire world must reshape itself to match your assumption. Think of the power that lies within your consciousness. In it, you can traverse 1,000,000 years in a second. In it, you can experience the end before the beginning. In it, you can be, do, or have anything you desire. For consciousness is the only reality, and what you establish there must externalize itself in your world. And when you say "we can do it," you are acknowledging the ultimate truth that we are all one consciousness, one divine being, expressing itself through seemingly separate forms. In this understanding lies the secret of true cooperation, true achievement, true happiness. Let me tell you what happens in consciousness when you truly accept that you can do it. In that moment of acceptance, the entire universe begins to rearrange itself to match your assumption. For consciousness is the only reality, and what you accept as true in consciousness must manifest in your world. Think about this divine principle. When you declare "I can do it" from a place of knowing, not hoping, you are exercising your divine creative power. You are operating not as a mere human being, but as the God you truly are. For there is only one God, one consciousness, expressing itself through all. I want you to grasp this fundamental truth about happiness. It is not a destination to reach, but a decision to make in consciousness. When you understand this, you will stop seeking happiness and start expressing it. For what you express in consciousness must objectify itself in your world. Consider what happens when you say "you can do it" to another. You are not merely offering encouragement. You are recognizing the God within them. You are speaking to their divine nature, their unlimited potential, their true being. And in that recognition, you help to awaken their own divine power. Let me share with you a principle that never fails. The intensity of your assumption determines the speed of its manifestation. When you live from the state of "I can do it," when you maintain the consciousness of happiness now, you are creating with the very substance of God. I remember a man who came to me, defeated by life's circumstances. He had tried everything, he said, to find happiness and success. I told him, "Stop trying to find what already exists within you. Your consciousness is the only reality. Live from the end, and the end will become your reality." You see, when we join together in declaring "we can do it," we are entering into the highest spiritual agreement. We are acknowledging our oneness with all creation, our unity with the divine, our inseparable connection with infinite possibility. Think of it this way. Every achievement in human history began with someone assuming the state of "I can do it." They didn't achieve first and then believe. They believed first and then achieved. For this is the law of consciousness. What you accept as true in consciousness must externalize itself. Let me tell you something about the nature of possibility that few understand. In consciousness, there is no such thing as impossible. The word itself says, "I'm possible." When you truly grasp this, when you live from this understanding, you enter into your divine inheritance as a created being. Consider the power that lies within your own wonderful human imagination. In it, you can experience the end before the beginning. In it, you can be, do, or have anything you desire. For imagination is God in action, and to imagine is to create. When you say "I can do it," You must feel the truth of it in every fiber of your being. Feel the confidence, feel the certainty, feel the natural knowing that comes with true ability. For feeling is the secret. And what you feel with conviction must externalize itself in your world. And when you declare you can do it to another, you must do so from the consciousness of already seeing them successful. Feel the joy of their achievement. Feel the naturalness of their success. For in consciousness, where all things exist, you are helping to awaken their own divine power. Let me share with you the final and most crucial truth about happiness and achievement. When you feel the reality of I can do it so intensely that your whole being vibrates with its truth, you have planted a seed in the fertile soil of infinite possibility that must come to harvest. Do you know why most people fail to find happiness, fail to achieve their desires? They treat their imaginal acts as something unreal, something separate from life itself. But I tell you now, your imaginal acts are more real than the world you see around you, for they are the very substance from which all reality springs. Think of this eternal truth. Every invention, every discovery, every achievement in human history began in someone's imagination. Everything that now exists in your world was once only imagined. Therefore, what you imagine with feeling has a divine right to manifest, for this is the way of creation itself. I tell you with absolute certainty that if you will faithfully apply this law, if you will maintain the consciousness of I can do it, if you will live from the state of happiness now, your whole world must reshape itself to match your assumption. This is not hope, this is law. Remember these final words I share with you tonight. You are not some tiny being struggling against the world. You are the operant power. You are the creator of your reality. Your consciousness, properly directed, contains within it the power to reshape universes. When you declare we can do it, understand that you are speaking with the voice of the divine itself. For in consciousness, there is no separation. What you claim for yourself, you claim for all. And what you claim for all, you claim for yourself. Tonight, when you leave this place, do so with the knowledge that you are entering into the most holy of holies, your own consciousness. Feel the reality of your desires with such intensity that the physical world seems pale in comparison to what you have established in consciousness. For in consciousness properly directed, even the impossible must yield to your assumption. The whole vast world will conspire to make your assumption a reality. For this is the eternal law of consciousness. What you feel as real in consciousness must externalize itself in your world. I leave you with this final truth. The power is within you. The kingdom is within you. Your consciousness used with understanding and feeling is more powerful than 1,000 years of toil. For in consciousness you are exercising your divine right as a created being. Go forth now with this knowledge. Apply this law. Test it. Prove it in the laboratory of your own life. For I tell you with absolute authority that even the impossible will manifest when you understand and apply the power of your own wonderful human imagination. Let this be your practice from this moment forward. Live from the state of I can do it. Maintain the consciousness of happiness. Feel the reality of your desires fulfilled. For when you do this, you are doing the work you were created to do. You are consciously creating your reality. Remember, the world is yourself pushed out. Therefore, in consciousness, you are literally rearranging the entire universe according to rest. There is no power outside of you that can withstand what you establish in consciousness. For consciousness is the only reality, and you are that consciousness. And now, knowing this truth, understanding this law, go forth and create the life you desire. For you hold within you the power to manifest even the impossible. This is the truth. This is the law. This is your divine inheritance. The end is where we begin. The completion is where we start. Therefore, live from the end, dwelling in the assumption that your desires are already fulfilled. For when you do this, you are operating in accordance with the highest law of creation, and nothing can prevent your assumption from becoming your reality. So I say to you, finally, take this knowledge, use it wisely, fill your consciousness with the feeling of your wishes fulfilled. and watch as the whole vast world reshapes itself to match what you have established in consciousness. For this is the way of creation, this is the law of assumption, and this is your power as a divine creative being.